through this spiritual awakening of my father transitioning and like him and I completing our healing in this life and our whole timeline in the past and forward. Crazy. I mean, I've talked to you a little bit about it, right? But I had this incredible healing. I mean, I held my father as he left his body, and it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced in my life. Well, I held my mother and sister, and they held them on one side. I got to be in this precious, precious experience of my dad, who, for all his shadow and light, had been my hero in a lot of ways, especially as a boy and a young man, right? And I had such healing and completion with him that over the subsequent weeks, a lot of stuff started moving within me. And part of that was this conversation around how I had somehow decided to keep my spiritual path separate from the psychological path and the emotional developmental path, right? Which I've been on for quite a while. And all of that just integrated within, it just happened. It's not like I can go, hey, you got to do this to have this happen, because it literally just happened. It's like it was getting ready for a long time. And then there was a catalyst experience, right, with my dad passing and just the unfolding of that time, because I literally was in this profound experience of bliss and oneness with God for almost 12 weeks.
I remember you were talking to me and you said you were standing on the back deck at your house.
Yep.
Was it your childhood house?
My parents' house on the lake in Georgia. Yeah.
Yes. And you said to me, I feel like I'm actually touching what it is to be a king.
Yep.
I'm actually touching the kingship of life.
The real conscious kingship. You have like that archetype. I experienced the ascension into a complete conscious expression of the king, complete and whole, benevolent, loving, and with the warrior and the lover and the magician all integrated. And I experienced that. And that was prior to, my dad was still in his body when that happened. He left a couple weeks later. And then this next unfolding occurred. Trust me, it's been unfolding still. And it's got, it went from really light and bright to really dark, which was necessary for me.
It's almost like healing is a spiral.
It is. Ascension and healing is, and if we look at spiral dynamics, there is a beautiful, I agree with it, right? Like it is a 3-dimensional spiral. And one of the things, a little note I'll just drop, because a lot of times when people get into their developmental work, like they start doing work, and I know you even gone through this. We think we've completed healing on something or get resolution with something. And then maybe a year later, it shows up again in another way, but it's the same thing. Just shows up differently or maybe a little more subtly. And then what generally happens is at that place, we beat ourselves up. We go, oh, but I thought I did this. Oh, I'm a piece of shit. I didn't do it. Or, oh, that old stuff. Please, if you've ever done this or doing this, drop it. Meaning, here's why it happens. What we heal at one place on the spiral, my experience is we resolve what can be resolved at that place in our evolution. And then as we're prepared for more to come up, if there is more to come up, it comes up again. But it's different, right? So if we can give ourselves that grace, one of the things that's really hard when we get into our own healing work and our developmental work in the beginning is we still can beat ourselves up and shame ourselves a lot, man. And like, we're like the worst agents of shaming ourselves, right?
I almost feel like the more work you do, the more challenging it might be to not shame yourself, because the dragon comes up and says, you already healed this, bro.
Well, I call that the subtlety. I call that the craftiness of the ego.
Yes.
That
I've already healed this.
Yeah.
Why is this coming up again?
Yeah. So there's two things happening. First of all, if we shame ourselves for something coming up again, then I just implore you to drop it. And in the sense of give yourself some compassion, some understanding, and going, you did the best you could with the resources you had. And now, guess what? You get to do a little more work on it. Yay, because that means you're going to be even better off after you do, right? So it's awesome. So give yourself some grace. And I guess that, the developing spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, in my experience, is not a clean, streamlined process. It's not linear. It's spherical and linear. Sometimes we need to do focused work to heal something, really very masculine, its energetic signature. Sometimes healing and growth and expansion can occur massively in just holding and being with something, being with the pain, being with the loss, being with the grief process of losing someone, or something. And this is I call it the circle, but this is also would be more of a goddess quality, right? Where we hold things. I mean, we're as men, especially men, can be we're aggressive in our approach to deal with things, right?
You think?
We want to every problem's a nail and every solution's a hammer.
Yeah.
And that's just not the way it is.
The unintegrated.
Yeah. I mean, it's, all of us, to actually be, to truly be integrated, man, like if you say, Scott, are you integrated? I would say no. I mean, probably more than some, but if we said integrated as a 0 and a 1, you mean an on and an off, right? Which it's not.
Yeah.
Then I would say absolutely not. Because there are so many facets. Ken Wilber, God bless him. He's the, if your readers or subscribers don't know Ken, a great place to start would be maybe if you want to learn some great things about integral theory. There's so many good books out there, but A Brief History of Everything may be a great place to start. Anyways, this guy's the great American philosopher of my time. That's my opinion for sure. And he's brilliant. But the amount of work he put into research and development of integral theory is so profound. It's just absolutely astonishing. So I have a profound respect for him, right? And the contribution he's done, but it's a complex field and a complex conversation. So I like to start it off simply by just saying, hey, we are more than just, we've got a physical body, we've got an emotional body, we've got a mental, psychological body, and we certainly have a spiritual body, right? And guess what? We actually can develop all of those things. All of those things have amazing facets of and paths that are available for developing spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, such that we are integrated, such that we become integrated in our thinking and in our behaviors. Because the truth is that there's kind of a couple of, once we get to, in integral theory, like you learned values levels from Claire Graves. I taught you that when we did the training in Montana, right? Because I taught, as a part of our developmental work, we've taught Claire Graves values work for about 8 years. So in integral theory, they're called basically moral levels of development, right? Instead of values levels. But they're also obviously modified some. But once one gets to an integral level of thinking or an integral level of development, there's exponential more internal resources available to someone. And then when you have multiple someones who are thinking at this level, and then you get those people together for solving problems, we can come up with some profound solutions, I think.
That's how you change the world.
That's how, this is my thinking now at this point, right? Like, this is how we truly change the world.
Don't go anywhere. Click the link on this screen. If you love that clip that you just watched, you're gonna absolutely love this full-length video. You just have to tap the little icon on the screen. While you're at it, subscribe.